Dr. Taeho Kim pressed his face against the thick glass of the observation deck. The research vessel New Sol moved slowly through the dark space around Kepler 4 Maury 2c. The small moon below looked gray and lifeless. No plants grew there. No water flowed on its surface. Only rocks and dust covered the ground. Taeho had been studying alien life forms for 10 years. He worked as a xenobiologist for the Earth Space Research Division. His job was to find and study new forms of life in the galaxy. Most days were boring. He looked at tiny microbes through microscopes or tested soil samples from dead planets. Today felt different, though. The ship's sensors had picked up something unusual on the moon's surface. Captain Jin-Woo Choi had called all the science team to the bridge that morning. "We found a crashed ship down there," the captain had said. His voice was serious. "It's not human. We don't know what kind of aliens built it." Taeho remembered how excited he felt when he heard those words. A real alien ship. Maybe even living aliens inside. This was what he had dreamed about since he was a small boy back in Busan. Now he watched the moon get bigger as their ship moved closer. The surface was covered with deep craters. Some were as big as cities. The crashed alien ship sat in the middle of one of these craters. From this distance, it looked like a small dark spot. "Taeho, are you ready?" Dr. Ha-Jin Park walked up behind him. Ha-Jin was his research partner and closest friend on the ship. They had worked together for 5 years. Ha-Jin was always careful about following rules and procedures. "I've been ready my whole life," Taeho said. He could not hide his excitement. Ha-Jin looked worried. "Remember what Captain Choi said. We follow protocol. We scan everything first. We don't touch anything until we know it's safe. And if we find living aliens, we contact the Galactic Medical Council immediately." Taeho nodded, but his mind was already thinking about what they might find. The Galactic Medical Council was a group of doctors and scientists from different alien species. They made rules about how to treat sick or injured aliens, but their nearest office was 3 weeks away by faster-than-light travel. If someone was dying down there, 3 weeks would be too long to wait. 2 hours later, Taeho and Ha-Jin put on their environmental suits. The moon had no air that humans could breathe. The suits were heavy and made walking difficult, but they would keep them alive. Engineer Mi-Young Lee helped them check their equipment one last time. She was young but very smart. She had designed many of the tools they used for alien research. "Your air will last 6 hours, Mi-Young told them. "Your communicators are working perfectly. And remember, if you find anything dangerous, just press this red button. The ship will pull you back up immediately." Taeho and Ha-Jin climbed into the small landing craft. The pilot, Dong Hyun-Yu, started the engines. "Hold on tight," he said with a grin. "This moon has some tricky gravity." The landing craft left the New Sol and flew toward the crater. As they got closer, Taeho could see the alien ship more clearly. It was about the size of a small house. The metal was dark purple and had strange designs carved into its surface. One side was badly damaged. Pieces of the ship were scattered around the crash site. "It looks like it's been here for a while," Ha-Jin said. "Maybe several months." Dong Hyun landed their craft 50 meters away from the alien ship. "I'll wait here," he said. "Call me if you need anything." Taeho and Ha-Jin walked carefully across the rocky ground. The moon's low gravity made each step feel like floating. Taeho's heart was beating fast with excitement and nervousness. The alien ship had a large hole in one side. They could see inside. Taeho shined his flashlight through the opening. The inside walls were covered with symbols he had never seen before. Some kind of writing, but not from any alien species he knew about. "Hello?" Taeho called out. His voice sounded strange through the suit's speaker. "Is anyone in there?" "We're here to help." At first there was no answer. Then they heard a weak sound from deeper inside the ship. It sounded like someone trying to speak. "There's someone alive in there," Taeho said. He started climbing through the hole before Ha-Jin could stop him. "Taeho, wait," Ha-Jin called. "We should scan for dangerous gases first," but Taeho was already inside. His scanner showed the air was safe to breathe, even though there wasn't much of it left. The alien ship's life support systems were failing. He found the source of the voice in what looked like the ship's main living area. An alien lay on the floor, barely moving. Taeho had never seen anything like this creature before. The alien was about the same size as a human, but thinner. Its skin was pale blue and covered with small scales that caught the light from Taeho's flashlight. It had 4 arms instead of 2, and each hand had 6 long fingers. But the most striking thing about the alien was its eyes. The eyes were huge, taking up much of the creature's face. They should have been beautiful. Tejo could see that they were designed to glow with their own light. But now they were cloudy and dim. The alien was clearly blind. "Help," the alien whispered in broken galactic standard. This was the common language used for communication between different species. "Please help me." Hajin finally climbed through the hole and joined Tejo.
He gasped when he saw the alien.
"What species is this? I've never seen anything like it in any of our databases." The alien heard Hajin's voice and turned its head toward them. "I am Veltar of the Kethmoran people," it said weakly. "I have been blind for many cycles. My people cast me out. They say blindness is curse from gods." Tejo knelt down next to Veltar. Even through his environmental suit, he could feel the alien's sadness and pain. "We're going to help you," he said gently. "We're going to get you to our medical bay." "No use," Veltar said. "Many healers tried. Kethmoran medicine cannot fix eyes like mine. I will die blind and alone." But Tejo was already studying Veltar's eyes with his portable scanner. Something about the cloudiness looked familiar. It reminded him of a condition he had learned about in medical school. Human eyes sometimes developed similar problems when people got very old. "Hajin, look at this," Tejo said, showing his partner the scanner readings. "The structure is different from human eyes, but the problem might be similar to what we call cataracts." Hajin studied the data. "Even if that's true, we can't perform surgery on an unknown alien species. We need to contact the Galactic Medical Council first. Let them send experts, and that will take weeks," Tejo said. "Look at him. He doesn't have weeks." Veltar listened to their conversation with growing hope. "You think you can heal my eyes?" he asked. Tejo looked at the dying alien. Every rule said he should wait for proper authorities. Every procedure said he should be careful and follow protocol. But his heart told him something different. "We're going to try," Tejo said. "We're going to take you to our ship and see what we can do." It took an hour to carefully move Veltar to their landing craft. The alien was weak from months of poor nutrition and failing life support systems, but he was still alive, and for the first time in cycles he had hope that his darkness might end. As they flew back to the New Sol, Tejo was already thinking about his grandmother's old remedies and the plants he had brought from Earth. Maybe ancient human wisdom could succeed where advanced alien medicine had failed. The medical bay of the New Sol was not designed for alien patients. Dr. Tejo Kim watched as engineer Mi-Young Lee worked quickly to modify the equipment. She adjusted the height of the medical table and changed the lighting to be softer on Veltar's damaged eyes. Veltar lay still on the table. His pale blue skin looked even more fragile under the bright white lights. The alien's forearms rested at his sides. His breathing was shallow but steady. The cloudy eyes that should have glowed with inner light remained dim and lifeless. "The air mixture is perfect for his biology now," Mi-Young said, checking her readings. "His people breathe mostly nitrogen with some oxygen, just like humans but in different amounts." Tejo nodded and continued his examination. He had spent the last 6 hours studying everything he could find about Kethmoran physiology in the ship's database. There wasn't much information. The Kethmoran people were known to the galaxy, but they kept to themselves. They rarely shared details about their bodies or medical practices. Dr. Hajin Park stood near the door with his arms crossed. He had been arguing with Tejo for hours. "This is insane," Hajin said for the 10th time. "We should put Veltar in a stasis pod and wait for the medical council. We could kill him if we make a mistake." "He's already dying," Tejo replied without looking up from his scanner. "Look at these readings. His body is shutting down from cycles of malnutrition and stress. If we wait 3 weeks, he'll be dead." Veltar's head turned toward their voices. Even blind, he could hear the concern in their tones. "Do not argue because of me," he said in his broken galactic standard. "I have been ready to die for a long time. At least now I am not alone." Tejo felt his heart clench at the alien's words. No living being should have to face death alone. He thought about his grandmother, Soonja Kim, who had raised him after his parents died. She had been an herbalist in their small village near Busan. People came from far away to seek her healing wisdom. Grandmother always said that healing comes from understanding, not just technology, Tejo murmured to himself. He walked to his personal storage locker and pulled out a small refrigerated container. Inside were samples of earth plants that he had brought for his research on how terrestrial biology might adapt to alien environments. His grandmother had insisted he take some of her medicinal herbs, saying they might be useful someday. Among the samples were dried chrysanthemum flowers and small red goji berries. His grandmother had used these to treat eye problems in elderly villagers. The chrysanthemums reduced inflammation, and the goji berries contained compounds that helped repair damaged tissue. "What are you thinking?" Mi-young asked as she watched Taeho examine the plant samples. "Veltar's condition looks similar to cataracts in humans," Taeho explained. "The cloudiness in his eyes is caused by protein deposits that block light. In humans, we usually remove these with surgery. But my grandmother taught me that certain plants can sometimes dissolve these deposits naturally." Hajin stepped forward, his expression worried. "Taeho, those are earth plants. They evolved for human biology. They could be poison to a Kethmoran, or they could be exactly what he needs," Taeho said. He turned to Veltar. "I want to try something. It might help your eyes, but there could be risks. Do you understand?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "What kind of risks?" he asked. "The treatment might not work, or it might make you sick. I honestly don't know what will happen because I've never treated a Kethmoran before. But you think it might give me sight? Maybe. I can't promise anything." Veltar raised one of his 4 hands and touched his clouded eyes. "I have been in darkness for 3 cycles. My people believe blindness means the gods have cursed me. If I die trying to see again, at least I die with hope." Taeho began preparing the treatment. He ground the chrysanthemum flowers into a fine powder and mixed it with purified water. The goji berries he processed into a liquid extract, using the medical bay's molecular synthesizer. Mi-young helped by analyzing the chemical compounds and adjusting their concentration for Kethmoran biology. "The cellular structure is different from human tissue," Mi-young reported, "but the basic chemistry should be compatible. I'm reducing the potency by 40% to be safe." Taeho prepared eye drops using the plant extracts. His hands were steady despite his nervousness. He had treated many injured humans during his medical training, but this was completely different. He was about to attempt something that had never been done before. This might sting a little. Taeho warned as he approached Veltar with the prepared drops. "I have not felt anything in my eyes for a long time," Veltar said. "Any feeling would be welcome." Taeho carefully applied 1 drop to each of Veltar's large eyes. The alien's face tensed slightly, but he made no sound of pain. "Do you feel anything?" Taeho asked. "Yes," Veltar said, surprise in his voice. "There is warmth and a strange tingling sensation." They waited for an hour. Taeho monitored Veltar's vital signs constantly, ready to flush the alien's eyes if there were any signs of adverse reaction. But the readings remained stable. Then something amazing began to happen. The cloudiness in Veltar's eyes started to clear, just slightly at first. It was so subtle that Hajin thought it might be his imagination. But Mi-young's sensors confirmed it. The protein deposits were beginning to dissolve. "The treatment is working," Mi-young whispered in amazement. Over the next 3 days, Taeho continued the treatment. He applied the eye drops every 6 hours and monitored Veltar's progress. The alien slept most of the time as his body fought to heal itself with proper nutrition and medical care. On the morning of the 4th day, Taeho entered the medical bay to find Veltar sitting up on the table. The alien's eyes were no longer completely cloudy. There were clear spots where light could pass through. "Dr. Taeho," Veltar said, turning his head toward the sound of footsteps, "I can see shadows, shapes. Light and darkness are no longer the same." Taeho felt tears in his own eyes.
How do you feel?
"Like I am being reborn," Veltar said. "The tingling in my eyes is stronger now. And sometimes I see flashes of light that seem to come from inside them." Mi-young ran a detailed scan. "The bioluminescent cells in his eyes are beginning to function again," she reported excitedly. "I'm detecting electrical activity in his optic nerves for the first time since we found him." Captain Jinwoo Choi had been checking on their progress daily. When he heard the news, he came to see for himself. "This is incredible," the captain said. "Taeho, you've done something that advanced alien medicine couldn't accomplish." But Ha-jin still looked worried. "We need to report this to the Galactic Medical Council. They need to know what we've discovered here." "Of course," Taeho agreed. "But let's make sure Veltar is completely stable first." That evening, as Taeho prepared another treatment, Veltar spoke softly. "Dr. Taeho, why did you help me? Your friend was right about the risks. You could have let me die and avoided all danger." Taeho thought about his answer carefully. "My grandmother taught me that healing is the highest calling. She said that when we have the ability to help someone, we have the responsibility to try. Your grandmother sounds very wise. She was. She would have liked you, I think. As Tejo applied the evening treatment, he noticed something new. For just a moment, a faint glow appeared in Veltar's eyes. It was barely visible, but it was there. The alien's natural bioluminescence was returning. Neither of them knew that this moment would change both their lives forever, or that news of a human healing an alien prince with earth plant medicine was about to spread across the galaxy and shake the foundations of an empire. On the 7th day after beginning treatment, something miraculous happened. Dr. Tejo Kim entered the medical bay to find Veltar standing by the observation window. The alien was looking out at the stars with eyes that now glowed with soft blue light. "Veltar?" Tejo called softly, hardly daring to believe what he was seeing. The alien turned around slowly. His large eyes were no longer cloudy. They shined with their natural bioluminescence just as they were meant to. The protein deposits had completely dissolved. For the first time in 3 cycles, Veltar could see clearly. "Dr. Tejo," Veltar said, his voice filled with wonder. "I can see your face. I can see the stars. I can see everything." Tears ran down his scaled cheeks. "You have given me back my life." Tejo felt overwhelmed with joy and relief. The treatment had worked better than he had ever hoped. "How do you feel? Any pain or discomfort?" "No pain," Veltar said, shaking his head. "Only joy. Only gratitude." He looked at Tejo with intense focus. "You are smaller than I imagined from your voice. But your eyes are kind. I can see why you chose to help a dying stranger." Dr. Ha-Jin Park and engineer Mi-Young Lee rushed into the medical bay after hearing the commotion. They both stopped in amazement when they saw Veltar standing and looking at them with glowing eyes. "This is incredible," Mi-Young whispered. "The bioluminescence is at full strength now. His optic nerves are functioning perfectly." Ha-Jin ran a complete medical scan. "All readings are normal for his species. Better than normal, actually. It's like his eyes are brand new." But Veltar seemed troubled by something. He kept staring at Tejo with an expression that was hard to read. Finally, he spoke in his own language first, then translated to Galactic Standard. "There are old stories among my people," Veltar said slowly. "Prophecies spoken by our ancestors long ago. They tell of star-touched healers who would come from distant worlds. These healers would have the power to restore sight to the chosen ones." "Prophecies?" Tejo asked, feeling confused. "I'm just a doctor. I used plant medicine from my grandmother." "But that is exactly what the prophecies describe," Veltar said, his eyes glowing brighter with excitement. "Healers who would use the gifts of their home world to cure what our greatest physicians could not. Healers who would restore sight to those cursed by blindness." Before anyone could respond, Captain Jinwoo Choi's voice came over the intercom system. "All senior staff report to the bridge immediately. We have urgent communications from the Galactic Council." The tone in the captain's voice made everyone feel worried. They had sent their report about Veltar's healing to the Medical Council 3 days ago, but this sounded more serious than a routine response. In the bridge, Captain Choi looked pale and stressed. Communications Officer Hyun-Soo Kang was working frantically at his station. Multiple screens showed incoming messages from different parts of the galaxy. "What's happening?" Tejo asked. Captain Choi held up a datapad. "We've received priority communications from the Galactic Council, the Interspecies Medical Board, and something called the Keth-Moran Imperial Command. It seems our patient is not just any member of his species." He activated the main view screen. An official document appeared with the seal of the Keth-Moran Stellar Empire. The text was in both Keth-Moran symbols and Galactic Standard. "According to this," Captain Choi read aloud, "our patient Veltar is actually Prince Veltar Keth-Mora, heir to the Keth-Moran Stellar Empire. He disappeared during a diplomatic mission 3 cycles ago. The Empire assumed he was dead. Everyone turned to look at Veltar. The alien prince stood quietly, his glowing eyes sad but not surprised. "You knew," Tejo said. "You knew who you were and you didn't tell us." "I was no longer a prince when you found me," Veltar replied. "I was blind and cast out. My people believed I was cursed by the gods. Even my own family turned away from me." Dr. Sojin Nam, the ship's historian, had been researching Keth-Moran culture since they found Veltar. She looked up from her datapad with concern. "This explains a lot," Sojin said. "The Keth-Moran Empire is one of the most powerful forces in this sector of the galaxy. They control over 200 star systems. And their culture has strict beliefs about physical perfection and divine favor. What kind of beliefs? Young asked. They think that physical flaws, especially blindness, are signs that someone has lost the god's blessing. A blind person cannot rule or hold important positions. They become outcasts. Captain Choi continued reading from the official messages. The Kethamoran Imperial Command is demanding that we return Prince Veltar immediately. They're sending a battle fleet to escort him home. A battle fleet? Hajin asked nervously. 12 warships, Yunsu reported from his station. They'll be here in 18 hours. The fleet commander is someone called General Morketh Kethmora. Veltar's eyes dimmed slightly when he heard that name. Morketh is my younger brother. He became heir to the throne when I was declared cursed. He will not be happy to see me alive and healed. Why? Taeho asked. Because if I can see again, I am no longer cursed. The gods have not abandoned me. By Kethmoran law, I would once again be the rightful heir to the empire. So Jin nodded grimly. I've been reading about Kethmoran succession laws. The eldest child rules unless they are deemed unfit by divine judgment. Physical blindness is considered the strongest sign of such judgment. But you're not blind anymore, Myung pointed out. Exactly, Veltar said. And that creates a very big problem for my brother and everyone who supported him while I was gone. Captain Choi studied the tactical reports coming in. The situation is more complicated than just family politics. Intelligence sources say that Prince Morketh has been making deals with the Galactic Trade Consortium. If Veltar returns to claim the throne, those deals might be cancelled. How much money are we talking about? Taeho asked. Trillions of galactic credits, Captain Choi replied. Enough to destabilize the entire sector's economy. Veltar walked to the bridge's main window and looked out at the stars. I never wanted to be emperor. I only wanted to help my people become more open to the galaxy, more willing to share knowledge and trade fairly with other species. Is that why you were on that diplomatic mission? Sojin asked. Yes. I was trying to establish new relationships with peaceful species. I believed the Kethmoran Empire could be a force for good in the galaxy, not just power and conquest. And someone didn't like that idea, Taeho said, beginning to understand. My father, Emperor Zekthar, supported my efforts publicly, but privately many in the imperial court thought I was too soft, too willing to treat other species as equals instead of subjects. Yunsu looked up from his communications panel. Captain, we're receiving more messages. News of Prince Veltar's healing is spreading throughout Kethmoran space. There are reports of celebrations in some systems and emergency military meetings in others. How did the news spread so fast? Hajin asked. Quantum communication networks, Yunsu explained. Someone leaked our medical reports. Now everyone knows that a human doctor used earth plants to cure the lost prince's blindness. Veltar turned back to face the group. Dr. Taeho, you have done more than heal my eyes. You have created a situation that could change the entire balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Taeho felt overwhelmed. He had only wanted to help a suffering being. Now he was somehow involved in galactic politics and imperial succession disputes. What happens when your brother arrives? Taeho asked. That depends, Veltar said, his eyes glowing with determination. Are you willing to stand by your patient? Or will you hand me over to avoid trouble for your ship and crew? Captain Choi looked at his officers and crew. Each of them had worked hard to save Veltar's life. They had all become invested in his recovery. We're not in the habit of abandoning people we've helped, the captain said firmly. But we need to understand what we're getting into. A war, Veltar said simply. If I claim my rightful place as heir, there will be civil war in the Kethmoran Empire. If I don't, I will spend the rest of my life running from assassins who want to eliminate the threat I represent. As alarms began sounding to indicate approaching ships, everyone realized that their simple act of medical kindness had just pulled them into the center of an interstellar crisis. Prince Veltar sat in the New Souls conference room with his hands folded on the table. His newly healed eyes glowed softly in the dim lighting. The weight of his royal identity seemed to make him look older and more tired than before. Dr. Taeho Kim watched the alien prince carefully. Something had changed in Veltar's behavior since they learned about the approaching fleet. He seemed afraid, but not just of his brother's arrival. There was something deeper troubling him. You haven't told us everything, Taeho said gently. There's more to your story than just being cast out for blindness. Veltar's 4 hands clenched together. His glowing eyes looked down at the table. For a long moment he said nothing. The bridge crew waited patiently. Captain Jinwoo Choi leaned forward. Whatever it is, we need to know. The Imperial fleet will be here in 12 hours. We need to understand what we're really dealing with. You are right, Veltar said finally. I have not told you the complete truth about how I became blind. Dr. Ha-Jin Park activated a recording device. This might be important evidence later. Veltar took a deep breath and began his story. 3 cycles ago, I was leading negotiations with the peaceful Altari species. They wanted to establish trade routes through Kethmoran space. The profits would have been enormous for both our peoples. That sounds like good news, Engineer Mi Young Lee said. Why would anyone oppose that? Because the Altari are what my people call inferior species, Veltar explained, his voice bitter. They are smaller than us. They have no natural weapons or armor. My father's military advisor said it would be shameful to treat them as equals. Dr. Sojin Nam, the ship's historian, nodded. I've read about Kethmoran beliefs regarding other species. They have a very rigid hierarchy based on physical strength and combat ability. Yes, Veltar continued, but I believed that peaceful trade was better than conquest. The Altari had advanced technology that could help our people. Their medical knowledge was especially valuable. Communications officer Hyun-Soo Kang looked up from his station. So you went against your father's wishes? I thought I had his support, Veltar said. Emperor Zekthar told me publicly that he approved of my diplomatic efforts. He said I was showing wisdom and vision as the future ruler. But privately he felt different? Captain Choi asked. Veltar's eyes dimmed as painful memories returned. I began to notice changes about halfway through the negotiations. I would feel tired after meals with my father. My vision would blur sometimes. I thought it was just stress from the difficult talks. Taeho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Someone was poisoning you. Yes, Veltar said quietly. But I didn't understand what was happening until it was too late. The substance they used was very clever. It damaged my optic nerve slowly over many weeks. Who did this to you? Mi Young asked, anger clear in her voice. My own father, Veltar said. The words hung in the air like a physical weight. Emperor Zekthar was giving me small doses of Krovac toxin with every meal we shared. Sojin checked her database quickly. Krovac toxin is extremely rare. It comes from a plant that only grows on the Kethmoran homeworld. It's used in very small amounts as a medicine, but larger doses attack the nervous system. The perfect poison for a father who wants to eliminate his son without looking guilty, Ha-Jin said grimly. Veltar nodded. Krovac toxin leaves no trace in the body after a few days, and the symptoms look like a natural illness or genetic defect. No one would suspect murder. But why? Taeho asked. You were his heir. You were trying to help the Empire. Because I was becoming too popular, Veltar explained. The younger generation of Kethmoran loved my ideas about peaceful expansion and cooperation. They were starting to question the old ways of conquest and domination. Your father saw you as a threat to his power, Captain Choi realized. Exactly, and the military leaders who profited from constant warfare supported him. They convinced my father that I would destroy the Empire's strength if I became emperor. Pilot Dong-Hyun Yu had been listening quietly from his station. So they made you blind to disqualify you from the succession. Yes. In our culture, blindness means the gods have withdrawn their favor. A blind person cannot lead because they cannot see the path ahead. It's both literal and symbolic. Then they spread rumors about divine punishment, Sojin added, understanding the full picture now. My father announced that my blindness was a sign that I had angered the gods by treating inferior species as equals. Even my supporters began to believe it. They turned away from me one by one. Taeho felt sick thinking about the cruelty of the plan. Your own father destroyed your eyes and your reputation at the same time. When I finally understood what had happened, I confronted him privately. Veltar continued. He didn't deny it. He said it was necessary for the good of the Empire. He said that my ideas would make the Kethmoran weak and vulnerable to enemies. What did you do? Mi Young asked. I ran. Veltar said, shame in his voice. I stole a small ship and fled into exile. I was afraid and angry and completely blind. I didn't know what else to do. That's when you crashed on the moon where we found you, Ha-Jin said. Yes. I had been wandering from system to system for months trying to stay hidden. My ship's systems finally failed and I thought I would die alone on that dead rock. Security Chief Kyungmin Bae had been standing quietly near the door. Now he stepped forward with a serious expression. This changes everything, Kyungmin said. If what you're telling us is true, Then your father is guilty of attempted murder and treason against his own successor. It's true, Veltar said firmly. But proving it will be almost impossible. The Krovec toxin is gone from my system. My father will deny everything, and my brother Morketh probably knows nothing about it. Your brother might be innocent? Teho asked. Morketh is ambitious and sometimes cruel, but he's not a murderer like our father. He probably believes that my blindness was truly divine punishment. He's been raised to think he's the rightful heir now. Hyun-soo looked up from his communications panel with urgent news. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from the approaching fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. What are they saying? Captain Choi asked. It's a message from General Morketh. He's demanding that we surrender Prince Veltar immediately. He says that harboring a cursed member of the royal family is an act of war against the Empire. But I'm not cursed anymore, Veltar said, his eyes glowing brighter with determination. Dr. Teho has proven that. My sight is restored. The gods have not abandoned me. Your brother won't see it that way, Sojin warned. To him, you'll just be a threat to his position. Then we need proof, Teho said suddenly. We need evidence that your blindness was caused by poison, not divine judgment. How can we prove something that happened 3 cycles ago? Hajin asked. Teho was already thinking like a doctor again. Veltar, you said the Krovec toxin attacks the nervous system. Even though the poison is gone, there might still be traces of the damage it caused. What kind of traces? Myung asked, interested in the technical details. Scar tissue in the optic nerves, cellular damage patterns that are different from natural blindness or genetic defects. If I can find proof that Veltar's blindness was artificially induced, we can expose the truth. Veltar's eyes blazed with hope. You would do this for me? Even though it means challenging the Emperor of a stellar empire? I've already healed you once, Teho said with a smile. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you again. Captain Choi stood up and looked around the room at his crew. Are we all agreed? We protect our patient and help him prove the truth? One by one, each crew member nodded. They had started this journey as simple researchers. Now they were about to challenge an emperor and possibly change the fate of an entire civilization. Then let's get to work, Captain Choi said. We have 11 hours before that fleet arrives. Let's make them count. As the crew rushed to prepare their evidence and defenses, none of them knew that their actions were already inspiring rebellion across the Kethmaran Empire. News of the human doctor who had healed the lost prince was spreading like wildfire, and people were beginning to ask dangerous questions about divine judgment and imperial succession. The 12 ships of the Kethmaran Imperial Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, exactly where Communications Officer Hyun-soo Kang had predicted. They appeared on the new Sol sensors like angry metal sharks surrounding a small fish. Dr. Taeho Kim stood in the medical bay with Prince Veltar, running one final scan of the alien's healed eyes. The evidence was clear in the detailed readings. Microscopic scar patterns in Veltar's optic nerves showed exactly the kind of damage that Krovec toxin would cause. The cellular structure tells the whole story. Taeho explained to engineer Mi-young Lee as she recorded everything. Natural blindness from genetics or disease creates different patterns. This was definitely caused by poison. Veltar's eyes glowed brighter as he looked at the scanner results. After 3 cycles of believing I was cursed, I finally have proof that I was murdered. Attempted murder, Mi-young corrected. You survived. And now we can prove your father's guilt. On the bridge, Captain Jinwoo Choi watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Kethmoran ships were much larger than the new Sol. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Incoming transmission, Hyun-soo announced. It's from the flagship. General Morketh wants to speak with us. Put him on screen, Captain Choi ordered. The main display showed a Kethmoran male who looked similar to Veltar, but with darker skin and colder eyes. General Morketh wore elaborate military armor decorated with symbols of his rank. Behind him, the bridge of his warship bustled with activity. Human vessel, Morketh said in perfect galactic standard. You are harboring a criminal of the Kethmaran Empire. Surrender Prince Veltar immediately or face the consequences. Criminal, Captain Choi replied calmly. What crime has he committed? Treason against the imperial throne, desertion from military duty, and spreading lies about his supposed divine curse. Dr. Sojin Nam whispered to the captain from her station. He doesn't know about the poisoning. He really believes his brother was cursed. Captain Choi nodded slightly. General Morketh, we have medical evidence that Prince Veltar's blindness was caused by poison, not divine judgment. Perhaps we should discuss this situation more carefully. Morketh's expression darkened. Impossible. The royal physicians examined my brother thoroughly. His blindness was clearly a sign of the gods' displeasure. Then you won't mind if we share our medical findings with you, Captain Choi said. I will not listen to human lies designed to protect a traitor. Morketh snapped. You have 1 hour to prepare Veltar for transfer to our custody. If you refuse, we will take him by force. The transmission ended abruptly. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Security Chief Kyungmin Bae checked his weapon systems. Captain, we can't fight 12 warships. Our best option is to run. We can't outrun them either, Pilot Dong Hyun-yu said grimly. Their ships are faster than ours. Hyun-soo suddenly looked up from his communications panel with excitement. Captain, I'm detecting something interesting. The Imperial fleet is receiving transmissions from multiple sources throughout Kethmoran space. What kind of transmissions? Captain Choi asked. News reports, civilian communications, even some military channels. Word about Prince Veltar's healing is spreading everywhere, and the reactions are very mixed. Dr. Ha Jin Park joined them on the bridge. What do you mean by mixed? Some systems are celebrating, Hyun-soo explained. They're calling it a miracle that proves Veltar was never truly cursed. But other systems are calling it human trickery designed to destabilize the Empire. Veltar entered the bridge, just as alarms began sounding. His glowing eyes immediately focused on the tactical display showing the surrounding warships. My brother always was impatient, Veltar said sadly, but he's not evil. He's been taught to believe that strength and quick action are the most important qualities of a leader. Can you talk to him? Captain Choi asked. Make him understand the truth? I can try. But Morketh has spent 3 cycles believing he is the rightful heir. Learning that our father poisoned me will be very difficult for him to accept. We have to try something, Taeho said as he joined the group. I didn't heal your eyes just to watch you get captured or killed. Hyun-soo's console lit up with new alerts. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from civilian ships throughout this sector. Some are demanding that we release Prince Veltar immediately. Others are offering to help us protect him. Civilian ships? Veltar asked with surprise. Trading vessels, passenger transports, even some mining ships, Hyun-soo confirmed. It looks like your story has inspired people throughout this region of space. On the tactical display, new contacts were appearing. Small ships were arriving from multiple directions. They positioned themselves between the New Seoul and the Imperial fleet. This is incredible, Mi-young said, watching the display. Ordinary citizens are risking their lives to protect you. Veltar's eyes blazed with emotion. These are the people I wanted to help with my diplomatic efforts. They understand that cooperation is better than conquest. Captain Choi studied the situation carefully. We now have about 30 civilian ships creating a barrier around us. But they're no match for Imperial warships if shooting starts. Morketh won't fire on civilian vessels, Veltar said confidently. Whatever his faults, he follows the warrior's code. He won't harm innocents. Another transmission came from the Imperial flagship. This time Morketh looked frustrated and confused. Civilian vessels withdraw immediately, the general ordered. This is an internal matter of the Kethmoran Empire. You have no authority to interfere. A gruff voice responded from one of the trading ships. Prince Veltar represents hope for fair trade and peaceful relations, General. We won't let you drag him back to face false charges. False charges? Morketh repeated angrily. My brother is blind. The gods have cursed him for his weakness. Look at him yourself, the traitor replied. He can see perfectly now. If he was truly cursed, how could human medicine heal him? For the first time, uncertainty appeared in Morketh's expression. He leaned forward to study the transmission more carefully. Show me, he demanded. Captain Choi nodded to Veltar, who stepped into view of the camera. His eyes glowed brightly in the bridge lighting. There was no mistaking that his sight was completely restored. Morketh stared in shock. How is this possible? The royal physician said your condition was permanent, because it wasn't a natural condition, Veltar said gently. Brother, I need to tell you something that will be very difficult to hear. I'm listening, Morketh said, though his voice was wary. My blindness was caused by Krovac toxin. Someone poisoned me during the Altari negotiations. Dr. Taeho has medical evidence that proves it. Impossible, Morketh said immediately. Who would dare poison a prince of the Empire? Veltar's expression was filled with sadness. Our father. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. On the screen, Morketh's face went through a series of emotions. Disbelief, anger, confusion, and finally a terrible understanding. "You're lying," Morketh said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I wish I was," Veltar replied. "But the medical evidence is clear, and if you think about it, you'll realize it makes sense. Father was afraid that my diplomatic approach would weaken the Empire." Hyunsu interrupted with urgent news. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from the Kethmoran homeworld. There are riots in several major cities. Some people are demanding Emperor Zekthar explain how his son's sight was restored. Others are calling for Prince Veltar to return and claim the throne. The Empire is splitting apart," Sojin observed. "Some support the current emperor, others want Veltar back." On the screen, Morketh looked overwhelmed by the rapidly changing situation. "Even if what you say is true, you can't prove it. Father will deny everything." "Then let Dr. Taeho examine you," Veltar suggested. "If our father tried to poison me, he might have done the same to you to ensure your loyalty." Morketh's hand instinctively went to his throat. "I have had some unexplained health problems recently. Headaches, fatigue, occasional vision problems. Early stages of Krovac poisoning," Taeho said grimly. "If I'm right, we can find traces in your system and prove that your father has been controlling both his sons through poison." The general sat back in his command chair, looking suddenly much older. "If this is true, then everything I believed about divine judgment and imperial succession is wrong." "Not wrong," Veltar said kindly. "Just manipulated by someone who cared more about power than truth." As the civilian ships continued to arrive and position themselves defensively, everyone realized that this confrontation was about to determine the future of an entire empire. The healing of one alien's blindness with simple earth plants had sparked a revolution that was spreading across the stars. General Morketh's warship moved closer to the new Sol. The massive vessel cast a shadow over the smaller human research ship, but between them dozens of civilian ships held their position like a protective wall. Dr. Taeho Kim watched the tactical display with growing nervousness. More ships were arriving every hour. Traders, miners, passenger vessels, and even some small military ships that had broken away from imperial formations. The news of Prince Veltar's healing was spreading faster than anyone had expected. "Brother," Veltar said into the communication channel, "I know this is difficult to accept, but you must come aboard and let Dr. Taeho examine you. If Father has been poisoning you too, we need to know." On the screen, Morketh looked torn between duty and doubt. "Even if I wanted to, I cannot leave my ship. Imperial regulations forbid commanders from boarding foreign vessels during military operations." Captain Jinwoo Choi stepped forward. "Then let us come to you. Dr. Kim can bring his medical equipment to your ship." "Absolutely not," Security Chief Kyung-min Bae interrupted. "That's obviously a trap. They could capture our people and use them as hostages." Veltar's eyes glowed brighter as he considered the situation. "There is another way. Brother, do you remember the old testing chamber in our father's palace?" "Of course," Morketh replied. "The room where candidates for important positions prove their worthiness through trials." "What kind of trials?" Engineer Mi Young Lee asked quietly. "Physical and mental tests that reveal a person's true nature," Veltar explained. "In ancient times, potential heirs had to prove their fitness to rule by surviving various challenges." Dr. Sojin Nam looked up from her research station. "I've read about these Kethmoran trials. They're designed to test courage, wisdom, and divine favor." "Exactly," Veltar said. "Brother, I propose we settle this according to the old ways. Let me prove that my healing represents divine favor, not human trickery." Morketh leaned forward with interest. "What do you have in mind?" "A trial by medicine," Veltar said. "Let Dr. Taeho prepare the same treatment that healed my eyes. If the gods truly favor my cause, the treatment will work on any member of the royal bloodline who needs healing." "And if it doesn't work?" Morketh asked. "Then I will surrender myself to your custody and accept whatever judgment Father wishes to pronounce." Communications Officer Hyunsu Kang looked alarmed. "Prince Veltar, that's incredibly dangerous. We don't know how the treatment might affect someone who isn't actually blind." "That's exactly the point," Veltar said with determination. "If the treatment only works on those with legitimate need, it proves that divine power guides it." Taeho felt his heart racing. "Veltar, I can't risk harming your brother. The plant compounds that healed you might be toxic to someone with healthy eyes, or they might reveal hidden damage from low-level poisoning, Veltar suggested. Brother, have you experienced any vision problems recently? Morketh hesitated before answering. Some blurriness during stress, occasional headaches that affect my sight. The royal physician said it was normal for someone in a high-stress command position. Those are early symptoms of Krovac poisoning, Teho said grimly. Your father may have been giving you smaller doses to keep you manageable without making you obviously sick. Dr. Heijin Park ran calculations on his data pad. If General Morketh has been receiving low-level poison doses, the treatment might actually help him. It could clear toxin-related damage from his system. But if he hasn't been poisoned, Myung added, the treatment could cause serious harm to healthy tissue. Veltar turned to face his brother on the screen. This is the only way to prove the truth. Are you willing to take the risk? Before Morketh could answer, alarms began sounding throughout both fleets. New contacts were appearing on long-range sensors. Captain, Hyunsu reported urgently. We have incoming ships from the Kethmoran home system. It's Emperor Zekthar's personal fleet. The tactical display showed 15 massive warships approaching at high speed. These were not ordinary military vessels. They were the Emperor's elite guard, ships designed for crushing rebellions and eliminating threats to imperial power. Father is coming himself, Morketh said, his voice filled with dread. He must have learned about the civilian uprising. How long until they arrive? Captain Choi asked. 4 hours at their current speed, pilot Dong Hyun-yu reported from his station. Veltar's expression became urgent. Brother, we must act now. Once Father arrives, he will not allow any discussion or trials. He will simply destroy everyone who opposes him, including the civilian ships protecting us, Sojin added. Emperor Zekthar won't hesitate to fire on innocent people if they stand between him and his goal. Morketh stared at the tactical display showing the approaching Imperial fleet. You're right. Father has become more ruthless over the years. The old him would never have harmed civilians, but now he's desperate to protect his secrets, Veltar finished. Brother, please, let Dr. Teho examine you. It's our only chance to learn the truth before Father arrives to silence us all. The general sat in silence for a long moment, weighing his options. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. Some looked loyal and ready to fight. Others appeared uncertain and troubled by the rapid developments. Very well, Morketh said finally. I will submit to your human doctor's examination. But I have conditions. Name them, Captain Choi said. The test will be conducted in neutral space between our fleets. Both sides may send observers. And if the treatment fails to prove your claims, Prince Veltar will surrender immediately. Agreed, Veltar said before anyone could object. Teho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. In a few hours, he would need to perform medical tests that could determine the fate of an entire stellar empire. His simple earth plant remedies had already healed one alien prince. Now they might expose imperial corruption and prevent a civil war. I'll need time to prepare, Teho said, and I want to synthesize a much milder version of the treatment, something that will reveal toxin damage without risking harm to healthy tissue. How long do you need? Morketh asked. 2 hours to prepare the treatment and set up proper medical monitoring equipment. That gives us 2 hours before Father arrives. Veltar calculated. Enough time, but barely. As both fleets began preparations for the historic medical trial, civilian ships continued arriving from across the sector. Word had spread that the lost prince had returned with restored sight, and people were choosing sides in what might become the largest political upheaval in Kethmoran history. Dr. Teho, Veltar said quietly as the bridge crew dispersed to their duties. I want you to know that whatever happens, you have already given me the greatest gift possible. You gave me back my sight and my hope. We're not done yet, Teho replied. I didn't heal you just to watch your family destroy each other. We're going to find a way to save both you and your brother. And if the treatment proves that Father has been poisoning Morketh too, then we expose the truth and let the Kethmoran people decide who should rule them. Outside the New Soul's windows, the lights of hundreds of ships dotted the darkness of space. Each one represented someone who believed that truth and justice were worth fighting for. It was a sight that filled Teho with both hope and determination. In 2 hours, a simple medical examination would either prevent a war or start the biggest revolution in galactic history. Either way, the human doctor who had started this crisis with an act of compassion was determined to see it through to the end. The neutral zone between the two fleets buzzed with activity. Dr. Tae-ho, Kim had set up his medical equipment aboard a small shuttle positioned exactly halfway between the new Seoul and General Morketh's flagship. Representatives from both sides watched nervously as he prepared for the most important medical examination of his life. Prince Veltar floated nearby in his environmental suit, his glowing eyes visible through his helmet. General Morketh had arrived in his own shuttle just minutes earlier, accompanied by two of his most trusted officers. "Are you ready, brother?" Veltar asked gently. Morketh looked nervous but determined. "I have commanded fleets in battle against enemy empires. I think I can handle one human doctor's examination." Tae-ho had spent the last 2 hours preparing a modified version of his treatment. Instead of the full-strength solution that had healed Veltar's blindness, he had created a mild diagnostic compound that would reveal toxin damage without harming healthy tissue. "General Morketh," Tae-ho said, "I'm going to apply a very small amount of this solution to your eyes. If there's any toxin-related damage, you should feel a slight warming sensation and possibly see some improvement in your vision." "And if there's no damage?" Morketh asked. "Then you'll feel nothing at all, and we'll know that you haven't been poisoned." Engineer Mi-young Lee monitored the medical sensors from the New Seoul, while Dr. Ha-jin Park observed from General Morketh's ship. Both fleets watched the proceedings through live video feeds. Tae-ho carefully applied 1 drop of the diagnostic solution to each of Morketh's eyes. The general blinked several times, then his expression changed to one of surprise. "I feel it," Morketh said, his voice filled with amazement. "The warming sensation you described, and the chronic headache I've had for months is starting to fade." "Look at the scanner readings," Mi-young reported excitedly. "I'm detecting the same type of cellular damage we found in Prince Veltar's eyes, but at much lower levels." "Low-level Krovac poisoning," Ha-jin confirmed. "General Morketh has been receiving small doses for at least a year, possibly longer." Morketh sat in stunned silence as the implications became clear. "Father has been poisoning me too, keeping me weak and dependent while making me think I was strong and capable. The symptoms would have gotten worse over time," Tae-ho explained. "Eventually you would have started losing your sight just like Veltar did." "But why?" Morketh asked, his voice breaking. "I supported Father's policies. I never questioned his authority." "Because you're still a potential threat," Veltar said sadly.
"Any heir can become dangerous if they develop their own ideas or gain too much popularity with the people." Communications Officer Hyun-soo Kang's voice crackled over the radio.
"All ships Emperor Zekthar's fleet is dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. On the long-range sensors, 15 massive warships appeared. Each one was twice the size of the largest ships in Morketh's fleet. The Emperor had brought enough firepower to destroy every vessel in the area. We need to finish this quickly," Captain Jinwoo Choi said urgently. Tae-ho applied the full treatment to Morketh's eyes. Within minutes, the general's vision cleared completely. The chronic blurriness and pain that had plagued him for months disappeared. "I can see perfectly now," Morketh said in wonder. "Better than I have in over a year." "Brother," Veltar said, "we need to decide what to do before Father arrives. He won't allow either of us to live now that we know the truth." Morketh's expression hardened with anger and determination. "You're right. Father has betrayed both of us and manipulated the entire empire with his lies." "General," one of his officers reported over the radio, "Emperor Zekthar is transmitting to all ships. He's ordering us to arrest Prince Veltar and destroy any vessels that interfere." "What are your orders, sir?" another officer asked. Morketh looked at his brother, then at the human doctor who had revealed the truth that changed everything. "Signal all ships in our fleet. We are no longer taking orders from Emperor Zekthar. Prince Veltar is the rightful heir to the throne." Veltar's eyes blazed with emotion. "Brother, are you sure? This means civil war." "Father made that choice when he decided to poison his own sons," Morketh replied firmly. "The empire deserves better than a ruler who maintains power through deception and attempted murder." The shuttle bay was suddenly filled with activity as both brothers prepared to return to their ships. But before they could leave, Emperor Zekthar's voice boomed across all communication channels. "Rebellious children." The Emperor's voice was cold and filled with rage. "You dare challenge the divine authority of your emperor because of human lies and trickery." "Father," Veltar responded, broadcasting on all frequencies so every ship could hear. "We have medical proof of your crimes. You poisoned both your sons to maintain your grip on power." "Lies," Zekthar snarled. "The humans have obviously brainwashed you with their primitive medicine." Teho stepped forward and activated his own transmitter. "Emperor Zekthar, I have detailed medical scans showing Krovac toxin damage in both your sons' nervous systems. The evidence is undeniable. A human dares to challenge the Emperor of the Kethmoran Empire?" Zekthar's voice dripped with contempt. "Your species is barely evolved beyond primitive savagery." "This primitive human saved both your sons' lives," Captain Choi interjected. "Maybe it's time to reconsider who's really civilized here." Dr. Sojin Nam had been monitoring communications throughout the Empire. "Captain, rebellion is spreading across dozens of star systems. Military commanders are refusing orders from the Emperor. Some are openly declaring support for Prince Veltar." "The people have chosen," Veltar announced. "Father, you can surrender peacefully and face trial for your crimes, or you can fight a civil war you cannot win." "I will never surrender to rebels and aliens," Zekthar raged. All ships opened fire. "Destroy the traitors," but something unexpected happened. Only 5 of the Emperor's 15 ships responded to the attack order. The other 10 held their positions, their commanders unwilling to fire on civilians and fellow Kethmoran. "This is Admiral Krevoth of the 3rd Imperial Fleet," a new voice announced. "Emperor Zekthar, I have served the Empire for 40 years. I will not murder innocent civilians to protect your crimes." One by one, more Imperial commanders declared their refusal to follow Zekthar's orders. The Emperor's fleet was splitting apart as word of the poisoning spread through their ranks. "Cowards," Zekthar screamed. "I will destroy you all myself." The 5 ships still loyal to the Emperor opened fire, but they were vastly outnumbered. Morketh's fleet, the rebel Imperial ships, and hundreds of civilian vessels surrounded them. The battle was over before it truly began. Within an hour, Emperor Zekthar was captured alive. His supporters surrendered rather than face complete destruction. The Kethmoran Empire had changed rulers without the massive civil war everyone had feared. 3 months later, Emperor Veltar stood in the healing gardens of the Imperial Palace. Next to him, Dr. Taeho Kim examined the earth plants that had been carefully transplanted from the New Soul's botanical samples. "The chrysanthemums are adapting well to our soil," Veltar noted, his eyes glowing with contentment. "Soon we'll be able to grow them throughout the Empire." "And the goji berries?" Taeho asked. "Even better. Our agricultural specialists say they might become a major food crop." The garden had become a symbol of the new Empire's values. Traditional Kethmoran healing plants grew alongside Earth species, representing cooperation between different worlds and cultures. "Your grandmother would be proud," Veltar said. "Her simple remedies have brought peace to an entire stellar empire." Taeho smiled as he watched Kethmoran children playing among the plants. "She always said that healing wasn't just about medicine. It was about bringing hope to people who had lost it." General Morketh, now serving as his brother's chief military advisor, approached through the garden paths. His eyes also glowed with health and clarity. "Brother, the Galactic Medical Council has officially recognized our new treatment protocols," Morketh reported. "They want to establish training centers throughout the galaxy to teach other species about combining traditional and modern medicine." "And the trade agreements?" Veltar asked. "The Altari delegation arrives next week. They're very excited about the new partnership opportunities." Taeho looked up at the alien sky, thinking about how much had changed since that day they found a dying alien on a desolate moon. A simple act of medical compassion had toppled an empire and created something better in its place. "Doctor," Veltar said, "you've been offered permanent positions with dozens of research institutions. Have you decided where you want to work next?" "Actually," Taeho said with a grin, "I think I'll stay on the New Soul for a while. The galaxy is full of people who need healing, and I'm just getting started." As the 3 friends walked through the garden together, the setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors. In the distance, ships from dozens of different species came and went from the spaceport, carrying news of cooperation and hope to every corner of the galaxy. The human who had healed an alien's blindness with Earth remedies had done more than restore sight to a prince. He had opened the eyes of an entire civilization to the possibility of a better future.